To all the geeks and nerds out there, welcome to this 1.14 squid farm tutorial. And as you can see, there's quite a lot of squid. So this farm uses portals and you can get about 9,000 ink per hour with this farm. So let me give you a quick tour and show you how it works. So let's start here in the nether where we have our killing area, and as you can see these squids come out of this portal at quite a good rate and they end up falling down and land in here, and because they're out of water they are going to die of suffocation, and when they do they're going to drop their ink sacs which fall into these hoppers, and these hoppers take it into this chest right here for your collection. Now above this we have you can see we have two portals. The one over here on the right is for the player, so we can go backwards and forwards and not interfere with the farm itself, and the one here on the left, this is where the squid spawn in. And you can see we've got some boats in there. That is to make sure the squid don't get stopped, don't get trapped on the portal frame, and they get pushed out into the killing area below. Now, of course, this is in the nether, and this is a tutorial, and yeah, this is pretty exposed. So if you build this for real, you'll want to encase it to protect yourself. So how does this work on the overworld? Well, let's hop on over and take a look. Here is the overworld side of the player portal, and when you come through here you can get access to the AFK spot, and there I am just standing on this red block which is the AFK spot. So I'm using my camera account to have a quick look around, and you can see if we go this way you can see we have a rather large portal right here. This is a maximum width portal, and in fact there's not just one but there is in fact 4 portals all next to each other like that, with 2 block gap in between each one. And inside here between all of the portals we have these 2x2 areas of squid, and there you can see there's a squid there that just spawned and then it disappeared. So if we have a look here we should hopefully see a squid. There we go, there's a squid spawned and it almost immediately went through the portal. So you can see this is what happens as we're standing around the squid spawn and they swim. There we go, there's one swimming around and it goes into the portal. So that is what happens, and all of these portals on this side are linked up to the one on the other side, and so when they come through they end up then dying of suffocation. And so that's it pretty much, that's how it works. Now we've done a little bit of preparation for the area, so we've drained all of the river in the designated zone, so squids will only spawn inside our farm, and that is how we get such good rates. And look at this, check it out, we even got a trader. Ah, nice one. And so this is a pretty simple concept, but if you want to build it there are a few gotchas and a few things you need to take into consideration. So why don't we hop back in time to before I even built this up, and yeah, build it up together. We made it, we have successfully travelled back in time to the start of this build, and now I'm going to take you through the various steps it takes to make this squid farm. The first step is to find the right location, and of course for that we need to find ourselves a good river biome, because that is where squids spawn naturally. Now this farm will work in any river biome, but to make it work as best as possible there are a few tips. So first of all, if you want to build the same version that I've built, then what you need to do is try and find yourself a river biome that has that covers an area of 8 by 21. Now that is actually surprisingly hard to find, because most of the time river biomes are much smaller than that, or they have areas that kind of eat into that rectangle. But if you look around you definitely can find them, because I've got one right here. Now what I've done here is I've used this light blue wool to trace the edge of the river biome just so we can see how big it is, and you can see that just because there's water here doesn't mean that there is a river biome. Now if you press F3 you can see what biome you're in from your F3 screen. It will come up on your debug. But what I've done is I've got a mod installed just to make it a bit easier to see, and this mod is called Mini HUD. There'll be a link in the description if you want to use it, but it's not necessary. But this just makes it a bit easier just for the video. So as you can see here, I'm currently in a desert biome, even though I'm over the water. Now I'm in savanna, and you can see as I go over the blue wool, you can see we change back to river. So I've done that, and I've traced out that whole biome. Now then. And also once you've kind of laid out and you've got your area where you want to build, now you can also check inside just to make sure there's no pockets of other biome, because sometimes that can happen depending on where you are. Now that's the first step, identifying this area. Now the other thing is what you want to try and do if possible is find this area where there aren't many rivers nearby, because later on we're going to have to drain all these rivers, so the squid only spawn in this area. Now that we've found the location of where we're going to build, I'm going to show you where our portals are going to end up. So we're going to have portals that go along this way, and we're going to have a portal here, 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 and here. So we leave 2 blocks in between each portal. Now if you end up building this in a smaller biome, then it just means you can have less portals. So it doesn't need to be an 8 by 21. You can make it thinner than that. It just means you'll have some less portals. But the important thing is you need to have 2 blocks in between each portal. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to drain this area out because we need somewhere to build. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use sand to do that. So if you lay down a bunch of sand along the side, it will build up underneath. And then what you could then do is you can use your sponges to drain all this water. Once the water has been drained from our build site, we need to start digging, and that will give us the space we need to build our portals. And this is the hole you need to dig all the way down to Y42, which is the block I'm standing on. I also recommend digging out a few blocks all the way around the outside of the area you've marked out, which is your river biome, just to give you enough space to build. And once we've got this big hole dug up, then we need to plant down our portals. So the first portal we're going to build is this one right here, and this is going to be a maximum width portal. So the obsidian is going to be 23 in length, which gives us an interior size of 21. That's the biggest portal you can do in terms of width. And this obsidian has to be built at Y45. And the top obsidian block, if I scoot up here, is going to be at 63. And it should come outside of your marked area, just like this, by one block. That's because obviously the squid's going to spawn in the water, which is here in the river. Now this block here where this obsidian is, that doesn't need to be water, doesn't need to be river, because the squids won't be there. We'll have portal blocks in there instead. So once you've done that first portal frame, then do another 3 next to that. Just make sure you've got 2 blocks in between. Once you've built up your 4 portal frames, the next thing to do is to build the chambers where our squids are going to spawn. And how you do that is come down to the bottom and place down some blocks in between the portal frames, just like this. I'm going to use glass, but you don't have to. It could be any block. And then leave a 2-block gap, and then put another floor in, and then another 2-block gap, another floor, all the way up until you get to the very top. And it should line up right here. And you should have 6 spawning chambers, just like this, which are 2x2s. Now, the reason we have 2x2s here is that if you had a 3 high or more, then salmon can spawn, and we don't want that. We just want squid to spawn, and they only need a 2 high of water to do that. So if you do that for all of your portals, and then the next thing to do is to light them up. And now with your 18 spawning chambers all built up, it's now time to get the water in. So what we need to do now is for all 18 of these 2x2s, we need to have water sources in all of them. So what you need to do now is we need to place down either some water buckets or some ice. You can also leave a gap in between, and that will form water sources in between. And then when you go into survival, and as we break the ice, this then turns into water, and then we can gradually fill up our spawning chambers. Now we also need to do it for the top as well. So also this block up here as well. So we get a 2x2 of source blocks, and you need to do that for all 18 chambers. Once you've done that, your farm should look something like this. So you should have your 4 portals just like that. They should come out by 1 block on each side of our previously marked out area. And you can see that on the edges, we don't have any water coming out. We just have some glass in between to keep the water in. Now, of course, that doesn't have to be glass. That could be anything you like. But I like to use glass so I can see what's going on inside. And then if we just scoot up and down here, you can see we've got all of our chambers filled up with water. So we've got lots of 2x2s where our squids can spawn. The next job to do is to work out where our AFK spot is going to be, and what you need to do for that is to pick one of the long sides, so either this long side here or this long side here. Now the one you're going to pick is the one that's furthest away from other rivers. So for example, on this side over here, we've got much more river over here, you can see. But if we pick this one on this side, there's much less river this way. Now that's going to depend on how your terrain is, but this is also just to save us some work later on. So this is the side we're going to pick, and what you need to do now is you need to pick, you need to find the center block of this portal. So this is going to be 11 from the side all the way in, and this should be at Y54. So if you mark that one down, and now we need to count out 22 blocks, including this block, which is right next to the portal itself. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way down until you count 22. So the 22nd block is this green block right here, and the 23rd block, this is our AFK spot right here. The reason this is important is because we want to be 24 blocks away from any of the water sources over there. That means that we're far enough away for squids to spawn, but also we're close enough for them to swim around in the water. And when they do that, they will then swim into the portals and into our killing chamber in the nether. The next thing to do is to stop this kind of thing, which is squids spawning outside of our farm. And the only way to do that is to get rid of any other water that is in river biome in the nearby area. So if we pick a good location in the first place, this will reduce the amount of work, but there's always going to be a bit of work here, unfortunately. Now, the question is, how much river do we need to clear out? Well, here, we're just above our AFK point, which is just down there. Now, if you was to take a sphere with a radius of 128 blocks from the AFK spot, which is down there, we need to clear out all of the river that's within that sphere. And it just so happens, using the mini HUD mod, we can show the spawning sphere, which is right here. And that shows us that we need to clear out all of this water all the way up to this line right here. And also all of the water on this side as well, because we don't want squid spawning here. There's also river up to there. And also there's a little bit over here as well, this bit of river too. So that's all we need to clear out, and then we're good to go. Squids can only spawn inside this water right here. Now you may notice there's some other patches of water like this here and also this over here. Now squids won't spawn there because that is not river biome. So it's only the water in river biome that we need to clear out. And then once you've done that, we can go to the nether side. As you can see, I've drained all the water from the surrounding rivers, and before we go over to the nether, we need to take down a couple of coordinates. So first of all, come down to the AFK side of your portal, and you need to get the coordinates of this portal block right here, which is in the center. So that should be the 9th portal block down from the top, and it should be the 11th portal block over from the side. So yeah, just take a look at that and write down those coordinates. That should be at level 54 if you're building it the same as me. So once you've taken that down, come over to your AFK spot, and you'll notice I've built a portal over here. Now that is to make sure that we've got a way to go backwards and forwards without interfering and getting all confused with the squids themselves. So here's my AFK spot, and I've gone back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blocks to this one. So take a note of those coordinates as well, and then we're going to do some maths and then go over to the nether. The next job is to do some calculations to work out where we're going to build the portals in the nether. So let's start off on the squid side of things. So the X coordinate we noted down was 12,885, the Y was 54, and the Z was minus 29,214. So now you just need to divide the X and the Z by 8, and that should give you 1,611 on the X and minus 3,652 on the Z. So that gives you your coordinates to build in the nether. So let's hop on over because I've already done it. So here is our portal, and if I show you my coordinates, you can see right here that this one right here is the coordinate we just calculated. So this is where our squid are going to come through. The next thing to do is to work out the coordinates for our player portal. And I've done the same calculation, and here is the portal for our player. And yeah, as you can see, it's pretty close together. Now for what we're doing today, that is totally fine. Now, if you want to have your portals further apart, then just build your portal in the overworld a bit further back. And just remember, it's 8 blocks in the overworld for 1 block in the nether. So let's give this thing a test. I've labeled them up so we don't get confused of which one's which. So let's go through the player portal. And we should come out where our AFK spot is, just there. That's cool. Let's just stand here for a second and wait for a few squids to spawn. And as they do, they should be going through those portals and ended up in the nether. So that should be long enough. So let's go back and see what's happened. We've come back through our player portal right here. This is one we came out of. And you can see there is a whole bunch of squids, but they are stuck. And yeah, I've got an idea of how we can get them out of there. But before we talk about how we're going to stop the squids getting stuck on that bottom obsidian, I've gone ahead and added this enclosure around this portal. So this is the squid portal, and I've added 2 blocks wide worth of glass walls on both sides, here and here, and also on each side around here, as you can see, and then on the top as well. So that encloses this, so any squids that come out of here are trapped inside this glass box. And underneath, there's enough space here for 10 hoppers. So that is going to collect all of our drops, and that goes into a chest for now, just a double chest. In the fullness of time, you should probably change that out to be a shulker box loader if you're going to AFK here for any length of time, because this is going to fill up pretty quickly. The other thing I've done on the player portal side of things, just added a little platform here. So when we walk out, we'll be on this platform, and then there's some ladders that go down, and then we can get easy access to our chest. Now, of course, I'm in creative and I'm doing this for a tutorial. If you do this for real, you probably want to encase this because we've got these guys over here, these ghasts, and they're going to be shooting you if you're not careful. So yeah, make sure you're safe if you do this in survival. All right, so let's talk about how we're going to get these squids to not get stuck on the portal frame. To get this to work, we are going to put some entities in our portal, and when the squids come through, they're going to collide with those entities and get pushed out and then go down into the killing area underneath. And what entities are we going to use? Well, we're going to use boats. If we just use a boat on their own, then the boat will go through the portal, so that's no good. But what we're going to do is we're going to give the boat a passenger, and that passenger is going to be a cat. So what you need to do now is you place a boat on top of the frame just like that, and get a cat just there, and then push him into the boat. And it should go in nice and easily. Now what we've got to try and do, I've turned on the hitboxes with F3 and B already. So you can see this big box here is the bounding box of the boat. So we've got to try and get this boat into the center as much as possible. So it's got to go forward a little bit, try and get him over there. So as best you can, try and get it into the middle. It doesn't have to be exact, but if we do it maybe about there and then have a look. Yeah, not exactly in the middle, but probably good enough. And then what we need to do is if we break these blocks underneath, and then the glass on this side as well, that should allow the boat to fall down. Very good. And now just use a temporary block, that back here, another one here, and then do it again. And what we need to do is we need to do this a total of 4 times. So we're going to have 4 boats with 4 cats in, and that is enough to fill up the portal frame entirely. Once you've got your 4 boats inside with the 4 cats, it's now just a case of just rebuilding this. So put the 2 obsidian back on and also rebuild the roof as well. And then the last thing to do is just to relight the portal. So just get your flint and steel as usual, and then just hit the side of the obsidian, just like that. And there you go, the portal will light again, and you'll see that the cat and the boats remain in the portal frame. And that is pretty much it. So now we need to give this thing a proper test. And now we can see this thing working. Look at the squids coming out. Oh, this is glorious. So the squids are spawning in the overworld, and they're going through the portal pretty much immediately. And then they're getting pushed out by these boats and landing underneath. Now they're dying because they're just suffocating because they're not in water. And of course, when they die, their ink is going to end up in the hoppers and then go into this chest right here. So at the moment, I've got my, I'm over in the overworld, standing on the AFK spot, and I'm using my camera account to check out what's going on over here. Now you don't need to do that in when you've got a single player world. You just stand over by the AFK spot and you're good to go. In 1.14, when an entity goes through a portal, the nether is going to stay loaded for 15 seconds, and that's long enough for these squids to die off. So there's no danger of it lagging out your game if you AFK for too long. Now, one thing I forgot to mention about these cats, if you just use stray cats, then they will probably despawn. So best thing to do is to tame them up and just use tame cats in here so they don't despawn. You can use other mobs, so you can also use a chicken, but they lay eggs, so you'll end up with eggs in your system as well. You can also use a fox, and I think there's some other mobs as well about the same size. So there are other options, but the important thing is to get a mob that's pretty small so you can get 4 boats to stack on top of each other just like that and fill that frame in total. So there we have it. There we have our portal powered squid farm, and it is glorious. If you build this squid farm up in your world and you have issues with the drop rates, there are a few reasons that might happen. First of all, if you're playing on a multiplayer server, if you have other players loading other parts of the world, that means that they could be loading squid. And that means if other players are loading squid, that means there may not be squids loading in your farm, and that will definitely affect your rates. So be careful with that. The other thing is make sure you don't have any squids that are spawned in your spawn chunks, because they will stay loaded and they will fill up the mob cap. And again, that will also affect your rates. The other thing is that this farm is designed for Java Edition 1.14 and above. If you're playing on a server like with Spigot or Paper, or you're playing on Bedrock, then you may have issues. I've not tested it on those platforms. It may well work, but it may not. So test it out for yourself and let me know in the comments. You may also find that from time to time pigmen will spawn inside the portal and end up inside this killing chamber, but that's okay. There's nothing to worry about. That won't affect the farm in any way, so that is all good. Now, if you want to get some more information about this farm and check it out for yourself, there'll be a link in the description to a world download. So yeah, get that downloaded and check it out for yourself. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, then please hit the like button. And if you're new, then feel free to subscribe. And if you've got any comments or suggestions, then get it in that comment section. All right, my geeks, until next time, I will see you later.